Welcome to MTN Outdoors.
Hi there, I'm John Riley and I'll be your guide for this episode of MTN Outdoors. Right now is a great time to go fishing and to see some of my wife's favorite animals, the baby ones. Speaking of, we're headed down to Yellowstone National Park for a very important bison calf who was born, as MTN's Cassidy Powers reports.
I'm here in West Yellowstone where, as you can see behind me, people have gathered from across the country to celebrate the birth of an extremely rare white buffalo calf. But I'm here to tell you the deeper meaning of that animal for the native community.
We heard that there was a little white buffalo calf that was here, and I wanted to see it too. And I wanted to feel its blessing.
Wednesday afternoon, Buffalo Field Campaign hosted a ceremony acknowledging the birth of the sacred white buffalo calf. The event was held on the sovereign land of the Shoshone-Bannock, just outside West Yellowstone. Tribe members from around the country came to speak and represent their people.
Really thankful and to bring the people together, having a gathering today for prayers and songs and for the people to pass the message on to what we're doing, who we are.
Wednesday's ceremony was led by Chief Arvil Looking Horse, a 19th generation keeper of the sacred white buffalo calf pipe and bundle. He spoke about the first white buffalo born in the wild, which was in Wisconsin in 1994.
When I first heard it, my heart was so heavy. I just want to cry.
Now, over 30 years later, another white calf is born.
This is the second coming of the white buffalo calf.
But why does the birth of this sacred animal make Chief Arvil Looking Horse so sad? In the indigenous community, there's a prophecy that began over 2,000 years ago with
This Sami, the white buffalo calf woman. She told the people, next time I shall return and stand upon the earth as a white buffalo calf with black nose, black eyes, black hooves. That Mother Earth, Uchimaka, is going to be sick and has a fever.
According to the prophecy, the return of the white buffalo calf is a blessing, but also serves as a warning of coming changes in the earth. It's a sign calling for cooperation among people. Humans must come together globally to protect the well-being of Grandmother Earth. Chief Arvil Looking Horse says when he heard about the second coming of this white buffalo calf,
I'm very happy, but I'm very sad that this is happening in our time right now. We're here to honor Uchimaka, the earth. She's a living spirit. When she dies, we die.
At the end of the ceremony, the name given to the white buffalo calf was revealed,
Wakangli,
meaning returned sacred. In West Yellowstone, Cassidy Powers, MTN News.
It's a landmark event for the recovery of the American bison.
Senior bison biologist for Yellowstone National Park, Chris Jeremiah, describes the birth of the white bison calf as a 1 in a million event.
It may reflect a presence of some natural genetic legacy that was preserved in these animals.
That was thought to be lost until the night of June 4th. Jeremiah says many people, like park visitors, commercial guides, and professional wildlife watchers, documented seeing the calf in the Lamar Valley.
Multiple sightings, photographs, and reports from credible sources.
Jeremiah says photos show the calf is leucistic and not an albino. For instance, it has black eyes and hooves with some pigmentation.
Versus a true albino. We probably don't even know how rare it is for a white bison to be born. It takes a lot of calves to be born to have a white calf in the wild.
But what people are wondering now is, where did it go?
About 1 in 5 calves do not make it through the first few weeks of life, through the first summer.
Jeremiah says there have been no confirmed sightings of the white calf since its birth on June 4th.
Bison calves have to, live with predators. They have to cross these massive rivers.
It's a big world out there for a small bison calf, and even though it sounds like the odds may be against the animal,
we will continue to search for the calf.
Jeremiah added that he recognizes the cultural significance of the white bison calf for indigenous people. I'm here at Yellowstone National Park, where a major shift is taking place in its strategy for managing bison. But some local activists say they aren't too pleased with the proposed plan.
As long as we're under this current management plan, they're never going to let the population grow, and Yellowstone will always be the bison reservation.
Mike Meese has been working with the Buffalo Field campaign for 27 years. Their goal is to create permanent year-round protection for bison and the ecosystem they depend on, including respect for their migratory needs.
And Yellowstone is not their natural habitat, and they need to be able to wander our continent once again.
Historically, the park, along with other federal, state, and tribal agencies, has limited bison expansion outside park boundaries. For years, the animals have been subject to a capture and quarantine strategy, hazed back inside the park, shipped to slaughterhouses, or shot by hunters, mostly tribal members. In early June, the park prepared its new bison management plan with 3 alternative options in response to brucellosis, a bacterial disease that can cause cattle to abort their young. This will impact how bison are managed for years to come. Alternative 1 would maintain a population range of bison similar to the last 2 decades, 3,500 to 5,000 bison after calving, continue hunt-trap coordination to balance population in the park, increase the number of brucellosis-free bison relocated to tribal lands, and manage the already low risk of brucellosis spreading from bison to cattle. Alternative 2, the preferred alternative, states bison would be managed within a population range of about 3,500 to 6,000 animals to restore bison to tribal lands and tribal treaty harvest and public hunting outside the park. Alternative 3 states the NPS would rely on natural selection, bison dispersal, and public and tribal harvest in Montana as the primary tools to regulate numbers.
What was your reaction when the National Park Service released that final management plan?
Personally, it's what's the difference? You know, here they want to increase how many more can stay in the park, and the state of Montana won't allow that big number. But nothing's going to change about letting them out of the park.
But Meese says they won't give up.
And until that changes, we'll be here in the face letting them know there's other ways, and we ain't going away until times are a-changing.
In West Yellowstone, Jolie Salee, MTN News.
In Montana, spring and summertime out in nature means babies. New babies of all sorts of animals, including little fawns.
So it's been a pretty exciting springtime. We get some pretty neat wildlife here, and we're very protective of the wildlife we have on the property, especially our fawns. These guys here aren't that big. They get very playful, and they literally just bounce around the property, and they're funny to watch. Their personalities are kind of cool to see develop.
The Eagle Falls Golf Course lost at least 4 fawns in 2023, partially due to their mothers abandoning them after contact with humans.
So last year we had some scenarios where the fawns were literally a couple hours old, and people want to get close by and take pictures and everything like that. We did have some people go over there and actually kind of like pet the fawns, and then their mothers just never came back to them. So we had 4 or 5, I think, that we lost last year.
This year, they're being very proactive with signs.
So this year, once we noticed that was going on last year, we started putting signage up and having conversations with our customers before they went out. This year we've been doing the same thing, but more proactive. Before we got into that part of the year where we started having a lot of little fawns running around, we started putting the signs up, having those customers or having those conversations with customers. Signs have proven to be a good starting point for that conversation. And we haven't lost a fawn yet this year. I think we have 7 or 8 on property. The 2 back here behind us right now, they're probably 2 weeks old.
The wildlife bring a deep sense of nature and joy to many on the golf course. As you're out in nature this summer, please make sure to give the wildlife, especially babies, more room and simply enjoy the sights from a distance.
It's pretty neat that on a daily basis, customers coming in and saying, I just saw, literally we had somebody call and say, I'm watching a fawn being born as I talk to you. So everybody's pretty excited about it, and it's just kind of a fun time of year to do that. And honestly, when it comes to little baby fawns running around, everybody kind of turns into a softie. They come in and they're like, oh, I just saw the little one, and they're tiny.
In Great Falls, I'm James Rowan, MTN News. Coming up after the break, the Blackfoot River is running lower than normal, and we see how MSU researchers are using organic weed control. But first, it's time for some trivia. Montana has a long history of being home to impressive women, including the best-known resident of Castle, Montana, Martha Jane Canry Burke. But you might know her better by this misadventurous name. That answer coming up after the break.
We now return to MTN Outdoors.
Welcome back. So do you know the famous moniker of past Montana resident Martha Jane Canry Burke? There is debate on how she got the nickname, but Calamity Jane certainly left her mark on the Old West. Now I'm here at the Missouri River, which is running a little bit high right now, but it's a lot different situation for rivers over the divide, as MTN's James Dobson reports.
As summer's now here and the temperatures are rising, people are going to be hitting the river. But after a near record low snowpack this past winter, the Blackfoot River is looking really low. That's why the Blackfoot Challenge is hard at work educating people like you and me about how we can preserve this extremely valuable natural resource.
The Blackfoot River is famed for its recreation, for its fishery, for its scenery. People come here to enjoy that very thing. A river like this on the Continental Divide is very snowpack dependent.
Clancy Gendreau is a water steward for the Blackfoot Challenge, a group of people who keep an eye on the river and let people know how to conserve irrigation water and protect the environment when it's running low. Gendreau says the river is not critically low, but it's getting there.
We're running about 1,040 CFS, and typically this time of year we should be about 3 times that.
When the river's this low, they ask the nearly 90 irrigators to shut down their water pumps. Also asking anglers to not fish when it's hot and use artificial lures and simple hooks that are kinder to the fish. This is important because the Blackfoot River flows for 132 miles through 7 communities, fed by 1.5 million acres of watershed. Since the Blackfoot Challenge started 24 years ago, they've had to activate their drought plan 16 times. Gendreau says with climate change impacting our snowpack for the foreseeable future, people need to work together.
Drought is just going to be a present thing that we're going to have to deal with more often than not. The good thing about that is that we're building through this response plan, through all this community outreach and awareness around it, we're building our resilience to that.
It's important to note that this resilience only comes from collective action. So the Blackfoot Challenge is asking everyone that visits to do their part. For some tips on how you can help protect the Blackfoot and other rivers in our area, check out the links to our website. I'll have a long list of things you can do. In Greeno, James Dobson, MTN News.
Really a new age technology way of feeding cattle, and more into a barn style to where we can collect that manure through slots, and that will go down into a digester, and then the Bison technologies will actually take that digesta and make it into more value-added fertilizers, just like an organic fertilizer. Cleaning our pens, we're cleaning the manure out of our pens, and we take that and we stockpile that, and then we work with farmers here in the valley, and that is provided as a fertilizer. We believe that we can be a big asset not only to Montana, but to the entire beef industry.
This is Lilla Farms in Great Falls, a family farm that has been using organic farming practices for the past 20 years. They opened up their farm for tours and discussions on transitioning cycles for organics and weed control obstacles.
Our fertilizer is derived mainly from natural products of corn or soybeans broke down.
A fourth-generation farm operated by Daryl and Linda Lasilla, they produce a variety of crops like buckwheat, peas, barley, and lentils. While limiting the amount of conventional chemical products they use on their farm, most of their fertilizer is derived from natural ingredients, and they utilize conventional tilling methods as weed control over herbicides.
The drive was there because I was tired of the chemicals. I do not like being around them. I do not like the idea of it being in our food chain. I don't like the idea of it being in the soil that we're supposed to be cherishing.
Plant pathologists from Montana State University are currently working on testing alternative weed control for organic farming, utilizing Fusarium oxysporum, a pathogen that can cause disease in plants. MSU established a thistle fusarium biocontrol plot on Lilla Farms, where they are monitoring a plot where Canada thistle grows. Their goal is to use Fusarium oxysporum to target Canada thistle without affecting the crop.
Fusarium oxysporum has been used in the past to control other weeds, so we are just trying to cause disease in the weed using a pathogen. It's a pathogen that causes disease in Canada thistle and not any other crop.
This is a repeat trial of the same efficiency trial done last year in Highwood, which yielded positive results. More extensive crop safety trials are being conducted in Bozeman on research farms, where the method is being tested on if it will have an effect on other crops like wheat, barley, lentils, and peas. For more information on the MSU Thistle Fusarium Biocontrol plot, visit our website. I'm Anissa Coomer, MTN News.
Coming up after the break, we take a look at backcountry horse riding and take a trip to the Pryor Mountains.
We now return to MTN Outdoors.
Welcome back. Have you ever been hiking out on a trail and seen a fallen tree that's been cleared from the trail? Well, you probably have a volunteer to thank for that. MTN's Jay McDonald got a first-hand look to see how volunteers clear those trails.
Well, we're the best kept secret in Gallatin County. Very few people know that we exist.
They may ride under the radar, but if the Gallatin Valley Backcountry Horsemen and other volunteer groups weren't out clearing the trails, well, it wouldn't take long for people to notice.
It would be very tough for anybody to get into backcountry on trails. There's a number of trees that go down across the trail that you just can't get around. Even for hikers, it's tough to get around.
So people like Dan saddle up, grab their gear, and head out to clear hundreds of miles of trails for everyone to enjoy.
Get it on there and start cranking. It'll pull a log off the trail that weighs 1,500 pounds.
An important job for the Backcountry Horsemen, and a job that they don't take payment for. The group of volunteers head out to clear the trails to help the Forest Service and their community.
The Forest Service really needs our help. We maintain probably 50 to 60 different trails. They decided this year to go to nothing but permanent employees. So the trail crews have been getting smaller, so they really depend on volunteer organizations to help them clear trails.
And despite the heavy lifting and long hours, it's something that Dan finds rewarding.
We get a lot of kudos from people that we meet on the trail saying, thank you very much for all the work you do, and it's all the gratitude we need. Yeah.
And coming up in July will be the Backcountry Horsemen's annual poker ride fundraiser. For more information on the ride and about the Backcountry Horsemen, you can check out our website. In Bozeman, Jane McDonald, MTN News.
A new local business in Bridger lets you rent side-by-sides to explore the multiple trails and different terrain of the Pryor Mountains.
We wanted to share the mountains with everybody else.
For the Vargas family, the Pryor Mountain Range is home.
I just moved actually up to the Pryor Mountains about 4 years ago.
A home rich with history that they welcome everyone to explore. That's why they opened Ride Pryor Mountain in May.
We enjoy doing it up in the Pryors, so it was kind of a no-brainer.
Obviously, they had to show us around. So we hopped in a side-by-side and went for a ride.
There is nothing like this in this area.
What's your favorite part when you get out there into the mountains?
Quietness. The serenity.
Really?
Yeah. It's nice.
The peaceful mountains are packed with beautiful views, and the side-by-side makes seeing everything from the breathtaking canyon to wildlife a breeze. Even though at times it felt like we were scaling the side of a mountain.
You can take back roads straight out of town. In about 40 minutes, you're right at the National Forest boundary.
Rentals start at $350 for the day for a two-seater. They provide helmets and other safety precautions, such as communication systems and roadside assistance, to ensure a day full of fun.
Get out into the wild. It's awesome.
Come and check out the Pryors. The one word that everybody uses to describe them is that they are magical.
In the Pryor Mountains, Haley Monaco, MTN News.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode of MTN Outdoors. Thanks for joining us. Till next time, stay safe out there, and we'll catch you next time.